when you know what's up next, you win and you play the Chiefs, you start to think about, oh man, are they going to be without Terrell Bernard? Are they going to be without Christian Benford? They still don't have Rasul Douglas. Now here's Kyer Elam playing very important snaps for this team. AJ Klein off the couch is now your best linebacker on the field. Dorian Williams, who they clearly midway through the season decided, okay, we got to redshirt this kid. He is not ready to play important snaps, is now playing meaningful snaps in a playoff game. And then in the second half, Taron Johnson goes out with a head injury, and Cam Lewis, who was supposed to be playing the Taylor Rapp role, gets kicked down to nickel corner. And now you have DeMar Hamlin playing that third safety role. It was an absolute mash unit of defensive players out there. And the Bills held the Steelers to 17 points to their credit. But it's very easy to think, okay, that was Mason Rudolph. This is going to be Patrick Mahomes. And this is going to be a Steelers postgame show. Luka, what did you think about, let's go through the injuries first, because I think everybody's mind, in my opinion, especially the fact that it's already Monday, like we're recording this on Monday, you're hearing this on Tuesday, like we're already almost to the middle of the game week on the Chiefs with the way the schedule lines up. When you go through these injuries, here's what we know. Terrell Bernard looked awful. At first, you're thinking it could be an Achilles injury, it could be an ankle fracture. Ian Rappaport reported about an hour ago, and we're saying this at 9:30 on Monday, or 10:30 on Monday, so around 9:30, about halftime of the Bucs-Eagles game, that Terrell Bernard's x-rays came back negative, which is a great sign. And right now, it's just a sprain. Now, that'll determine how long he's going to be out, but it leaves the window open for Bernard to actually come back. Sean McDermott said after the game that Tyrel Dodson was probably closer to playing than Rasul Douglas, but he wasn't certain about that. And then Rasul Douglas told The Athletic that he could have played today, but the Bills decided to give him an extra week. He will be out there for the Chiefs game. So deductive reasoning tells me that Tyrel Dodson and Rasul Douglas will be out there for the Chiefs game. And then you think about the fact that Terrell Bernard, very iffy. You hope you can get Christian Benford back. Taron Johnson left with a head injury that was never officially called a concussion. And the detectives on Twitter, who I love, noticed that in the video the Bills posted of their post-game celebration, Taron Johnson was right in the middle of it. And that would be against concussion protocol if he was celebrating with his teammates, like screaming and yelling. And since they never classified it as a concussion, that's probably a great sign that he's not actually going to be in the concussion protocol, which means Taron Johnson will probably be back for next week. Luka, as scared as I was after the game ended, and the Terrell Bernard thing is massive, there's no other way around it. I feel like as bad as it looked, the Bills probably came away with it, going off of what we know now, as well as they possibly could have with as bad as it looked.
Yeah, if you can't just say, hey, it would be nicer if those injuries never occurred, essentially, right. Yes. Basically, what transpired, especially with the reactions more specifically to the Bernard situation, it seems like they've walked away okay. The Christian Benford one, I do get really concerned about it. It's just one of those ones where you can see a clear knee concern there where you naturally are worried. And you want to hear kind of a report on that one. But regardless, it's one of those ones where, so even on the Taron Johnson injury, shout out my buddy, he even kind of pointed it out. We noticed Taron Johnson jogging off the field towards the tunnel. And then all of a sudden, I want to say it was a third down play for Pittsburgh in the red zone. And it was going tunnel side. And he even like kind of stopped at the tunnel entry, turned around and wanted to watch the play and how things went. To me, that's the attitude of an individual who seems in good headspace. Yeah, he's probably being evaluated for whatever they're calling it head injury wise, but it doesn't seem like a concussion, like in the sense of if you are in concussion protocol, if they're checking concussion, whatever you want to call it, it feels like something where they wouldn't be allotting him to essentially sit at his own liberty and watch the play, whatever he wants to and stuff like that. He seemed okay-ish, we'll call it. So that seemed positive, as you're now pointing out. In the post game, he was with the team. So that one seems far less concerning. And I think Taron Johnson might be the biggest, other than Terrell Bernard, when it comes to the Chiefs next week, just because you need that disruptor for your Kelsey situation. And Taron Johnson, of course, is one of your key guys, especially since you don't have Milano available, as he would be another one. It's you really walk away from this game feeling okay about the injury situation, just because what seemed like in the game, like you're talking about, where Bernard, Taron Johnson, even potentially, but then Benford as well, those three guys, all three major key contributors to the defense, all seem to sustain somewhat serious injuries. And then now, already after the game, it seems like you dodged two of those three bullets knowingly, and we just have to wait back on what the Benford situation is before seeing if that third bullet could even potentially be avoided. So you have to feel okay about that situation and whatnot. I will say it's like, it's one of those things where it did get to one point where in this game, you're just like, man, you just need to get through this game healthy, because as you even pointed out, it's like, it never felt at loss. It never felt like there was ever a moment where you truly believe that the Steelers could fight their way back to a tie game and even potentially get their way in position to win the game. And yet you don't like, it's like, you're not resting guys. You would never do that. It's the playoffs. You just don't do that. I mean, as it is, McDermott already took a huge gamble with the Douglas situation with Rasul, being like, hey, you might have been okay to play, but we're going to rest you for one more week so we can make sure you're good next week. It's like, well, technically there might not be a next week. So that's ballsy. You'd like to think there's a next week considering the matchup, but regardless, it's, you would never rest guys, but you're just like, please just get through this healthy at one point. Like, it seemed like those injuries all happened kind of within a close relation to each other. And as you mentioned, it's like all of a sudden AJ Klein, Dorian Williams are your key contributors at the linebacker position for the remainder of the game. And you're praying. I will say Dorian Williams made a really nice play downfield, just kind of hunting his guy down, wrapping him up and getting it taken care of at one point. That's the thing you want to see out of a guy like him. It's not like it was all sunshine and roses out of him, but regardless, if that was what we needed to get through the Steelers game, so be it. Now we're just going to hope that, as you pointed out, Dodson's okay and he comes back. Rasul Douglas sounds like he's okay and he's going to come back for the Chiefs. And thankfully, we find ourselves in a position where maybe even Bernard could potentially, if pain tolerance allows, come back and play and stuff like that. So it's like, bullets dodged, fingers crossed. Thankfully, it seems like we didn't have too many serious injuries, that the Chiefs game might not be in serious doubt or question marks just due to the unfortunate injury situation the Bills could have been in.